we're just looking at this piece of cover. This this ground. This piece of cover. This. So these are the main angles we need to worry about. And this is what we control. So, I mean, what can we possibly do? Like, what does everything that we can possibly do affect? It's going to affect the enemy's hitbox. It's also going to affect our hitbox. It's also going to affect how many enemies we can possibly peek at once. So let's go through some options. The first thing is when you're ever trying to trade with a team, you have to notice, you have to sort of clean up every time you feel like you're not actually gaining anything in the way that you're trading. So like, what are we gaining? What are we gaining from going from head glitching this to going all the way right side? Like right here is the moment where the situation changes. So first we were wide peeking to scout and look at the situation. So it all makes sense. At this point, now we are in trading mode. This guy has a disadvantage in that he's looking a completely different direction, right? Us, we have our hitbox, like our hitbox is exposed like this much. So like a 70% hitbox. How many people can peek us? That Valk down there, we just aggroed a little bit. So she's probably not going to peek us for at least a second. We could be double peeking here. There's a tiny chance we triple peek. And then also the angles are disadvantageous. So do we want to fold this, reposition before we trade, or do we want to risk like this triple peek with our team like all the way back here? That's another thing to factor in, I guess, is where our team is. Right, so this shit happens. It seems like unprecedented or kind of random, but if you just kind of simplify it, try to humble yourself and say, well, what were my options actually? And what was I gaining from doing what I did? You know, like, yeah, this is kind of crazy, but what am I actually gaining here? And do I want to have this be a habit? Like, which one of these do I want to be my habit? Which brings me to, we don't want to look at this moment. We don't want to critique this moment. We want to critique the player and use the moment as an example. So weakness number one would be identify some weaknesses. Now we need to kind of work a little bit and try to think of like, what is the problem here? We have control over cover. We can head glitch it. We can also post up earlier. So it's a matter of time, because if we change anything here, it's going to take time. So time versus this disadvantage. The advantage of time versus the disadvantage of your positioning, where you're standing, and what can happen. And like here, it really doesn't seem bad to shoot this guy. I think this is fine. Like, this guy's looking away. This is just kind of crazy.
I just got...
Like, this is just kind of crazy. Like, how do we want to change as a player from this, and or do we? I think we do, because when we're in situations like this where the enemy has this huge cover advantage, our advantage of time is very almost assumptuous. We're assuming that this guy is not gonna just use his cover when we surprise him. Right, realistically, against a good player, any advantage that we have from shooting before we take a better position doesn't amount to very much unless maybe all of our team is on top of us and we're ready to actually take advantage of like an 80 damage gap between our team and the enemy team. So right here, this guy can just crouch. He can just completely avoid you. So our advantage of surprise is misused. I think we misuse like surprise advantage in some ways. In some situations, you're going to be taking advantage of it. It's going to be great. In other situations, it's going to be not worth it. And we have to start distinguishing that. That might be where we can start. We also might come up with some other weaknesses that are more relevant. But number one, surprising people greedily. You know, be surprised. We greedily surprise people. Even though we are also in a weak state. And then we want to make this more present tense, so, and more simple. So like the fundamental problem here could come down to maximizing how much we fuck the enemy versus minimizing how much we can get fucked. Like, one is much more important than the other one. Alright, so this is like a potential root core problem that's gonna fuck our aim. Am I coaching someone? I'm just doing a VOD review for somebody's aim on Twitter. He said he was having like a rough patch of aiming. So I'm just trying to find ways that he makes it more difficult for him. Just show him and he can do with it what he wants. But I do want to emphasize that, like, how are we making aim more difficult? In what way? So this would be like less stability, right? Have to dodge more. Accuracy goes down. And also the other thing is we're kind of controlling the enemy's cover. We're kind of fighting for control over something that is not ours, which is this cover. Potentially, but I don't think that's what's going on in this moment.
I got triple shot at.
Yeah, let's go back and
Yeah, for 2 seconds and got hit for 4 scout shots, bro. I didn't even know you could shoot 4 scout shots that fast. Jesus.
They're pushing.
Just back up. Just res me, Slowed or Emon. They have Sierra. I was about to say they have Sierra.
They're all pushing me right now.
Yeah, he's resing me. If you die, we'll try to get your banner, but I don't know if we'll get it or not.
Wow. Like, I'm confused.
I don't know why they push out of zone. I guess their building was like good too. Really don't push this deep though, right?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, I just sneezed so fucking hard. My jaw hurts. Holy shit. Why?
You got me light down here?
Yeah. I cracked them.
Oh my god, my god.
With the arc.
You can fly up and try to get an angle. They traded, I think. Break it, break it.
Okay, this is like a deceleration.
Break it, break it.
I don't know if you want to be decelerating here with nades.
Going up to height. Wait, they're on height. Why are we getting audio below? Break it, break it.
I cracked them.
Oh my god, my god.
With the arc.
You can fly up and try to get an angle. They traded, I think. Break it, break it. Going up to height. Wait, they're on height. Why are we getting audio below?
Yeah.
Why were we getting audio on them below?
I don't know.
You heard that too, right?
Yeah, that's how I was going downstairs as well.
Let's go to this building,
Alright.
That's actually so stupid. My stuff. They didn't even loot me. Okay, hold that door. Can you hold that door?
Yeah.
I missed a stick.
Oh.
I'm backing up, I'm backing up. Are they chasing?
No, no.
Okay, come to me, come to me.
Oh.
You dead. Oh,
I don't know.
dude. Alright, it's fine, it's fine. Didn't rent too. Oh, baby, 100 Thieves win.
Kind of same thing here, where we have a god head glitch, and we're just completely abandoning this super fucking good head glitch to change this angle by like 1 degree. Which I think is worth it if there's just zero
They had
tension on you at all.
gold R9s. No wonder we died to them.
That's what it seems like. They're just fighting each other. Yeah, this is not a problem.
Dude, I have a spot in zone 2. Oh, I'm gonna go nuts this game. You better not. You better not. I'm here. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Alright, right here you're just dodging versus a guy that is not in a strong spot. Which means we're maybe not so confident in our ability to protect ourselves if we're playing super... Basically, you're in a turtle shell right now, and you think that you're like very exposed. But in reality, we have this, we have the team on the left, and then you have a head glitch behind you, you're on a ridge, you can back up crouch, you can go right pretty fast to protect yourself. So I don't think we need to dodge here. Here we see this guy. How do we react? We go to the right and then we go to the left just barely by like an inch. We're still going left. We're still going left forward like this, even though our cover's back here and back here. So each step that we take away from our cover makes it so our dodge is getting more and more important. Which means we have to pre-dodge. So what we're doing here is we're pre-dodging. Like, right, this guy is not going to hit us, but people on our left might hit us. People that we don't notice here might hit us. So what our solution is to dodge in this plane. I think you can also dodge in this plane, which will make your threat over here go up and your stability to the left also go up. If we want to increase our aim in that regard and not worry about this side as much. Another thing we can do, obviously, is just play more towards this point of cover, behind you, the head glitch. And when we notice this guy, we try not to go any extra distance left away from our cover. Every extra distance you have away from your cover makes it so the distance you have to go when you decide to fold during a trade, if you decide to fold, is bigger, right? So if you're standing here, I have to finish this soon. If you're standing here and you have to end up folding, and they know your point of cover is here, they know your two options are fold in a completely straight line or almost completely straight line, so it's easy to hit, or just dodge. And in that case, they're going to hit you with multiple mags. All right, so do you want to get hit by multiple mags, or do you want to get hit in a straight line? This is what's going on when you're playing this far away from cover. So this situation is just pre-dodging, playing in an unstable way and making up for it. And every way that you have to make up for instability generally makes it harder to aim. So playing more, like working on your defense, working on protecting your hitbox, like work on your awareness of your hitbox more, and your aim will get better. Oddly enough, it will become a lot easier. So not prioing hitbox safety. And this is just the same problem as before, but maybe a little bit closer to the root. I mean, here we're prioing our hitbox by pre-dodging, so I don't think this is actually the problem. I think the problem is how we can actually protect ourselves. Like if we know, all right, we see this guy. Like, what's our full safe? Our full safe is right here. All we need to do is checkpoint here against this guy. So maybe when we walk up more on the right so we can play this. And also, if this guy starts trading against you, you can break aggro mid-trade so that he wastes some bullets and then you can re-peek him. And he's either going to be reloading, folding, trading with less bullets, or swapping guns. Either of those states are going to be advantageous. So this is only possible when you're next to cover. And that doesn't relate to aim, but it helps you win trades, which is the same purpose of having good aim. So I think this moment is kind of a key moment. So this is not the problem. The problem is being safe in the most threatening way possible. Safe in ways that reduce threat. So imagine how much easier it is to hit a target when you are now free to move how you want because you don't have to pre-dodge. Right, and that's easier said, assuming that you know how to like play cover well. So I think really focus on playing cover and getting the most out of cover. We're not just like jiggling around in random spots all the time. Kind of same thing here. My shit keeps lagging. All right, so let's look at this moment. We have this point of cover, which we're going to peek this way, right? This is the situation. Point of cover, enemies. Now watch how we position. Remember the point of cover? What point of cover, right? So we put ourselves in situations where we're completely not safe at all relative to cover, when we're right next to an opportunity to be almost full safe or way more safe. So now that we don't have cover to protect ourselves, what do we have to do? We have to pre-dodge, right? So we're pre-dodging again, and we can see it again. And we can see this antsy feeling that we have, like this lots of preemptive dodging, lots of preemptive protecting ourselves. So we have speed, right? We protect ourselves before we even have to. We just don't have the depth of understanding on how to protect ourselves in an easy way, which will make it so this aim that we have that is very good will go a lot longer. Like, you have this resource, this very valuable resource. Each person has a different resource they can tap into. Your aim is very good, and so every way that you fuck up your aim is 10 times more important than somebody else whose aim is not their strength. So I think this is very important. So we protect ourselves, or we increase stability in ways that make aiming harder. So a lot of preemptive repositioning / dodging versus more solid cover play. Overall, more safe equals less stabilization. So to put it very simply, dodge less, use cover more. Right, that's the path that we're trying to go down right now. And it's a very deep path. Cover play is very, very deep because you're going, okay, if I play next to cover, I'm predictable. How can I make use of this strength, even though I am more predictable? And it's a good question that you should delve into before making any sort of assessment. You should seriously go into that. Counter the counter, right? So if you're more predictable, maybe people will push you. How do you counter the push? Things like that. And there's like probably a million different working parts that you can tackle, depending on what is most relevant, what you're weakest at. But just have to start with playing cover. Utilize cover instead of utilizing dodge, and your aim will be much, much more consistent. Right, even here we're pre-dodging. I mean, part of this is using our keyboard to aim, but since we've been pre-dodging all these other times, it looks like pre-dodging. Right here, we're pre-dodging. We do not need to be moving this way. I know a lot of people are more used to aiming with their, like, while pre-dodging, but it's better to get used to aiming while not moving at all in the moments where it's beneficial than to just have an all-encompassing habit, like just pre-dodge all the time. You know, there's times where we really don't want to pre-dodge. So right now, like, the big thing that's fucking you is notice when you pre-dodge and you don't have to. What are your options? How can you play nearby cover to protect yourself without having to move nearly as much? How does this affect your aim? How? Right? This is like one thing that we could just focus on for 3 days, a week, whatever, however long you want. I don't know what I want to listen to. Yeah. I'm in silver since I wasn't playing last split, and I've noticed every low rank player would rather fight than res anyone. Yep. People don't like resing.
Mine, all mine, my free KP.
I mean, this is pretty much the end. Maybe we'll look for one more example. I feel pretty good about that though, because you know, we don't need to tackle a lot. We don't need to tackle aim overall. You just tackle it one piece at a time. So don't overwhelm yourself. Start with this one little thing, and this reminds me of something I taught Mocad, where he asked, how do I deal with my aim going to shit in endgames? Like, and the big obstacle is in endgames, you're juggling a lot of things, which one of the big balls that you're juggling is safety and stability. The less skilled you are at protecting yourself, the more of a strain it puts on your aim.
My bridge.
Finding ways to stabilize in a way that does not mess up your aim as much is super important.
Do not feel safe here, so I'm gonna go like this. You miss yours though.
Right here, same thing.
Okay, so I'm gonna go like this.
So our entry here is like very raw and dry, and
You miss yours though.
you know, alright, we're in ulti and we're just like sending it in, and now we're completely in the open. So what do we have to do? Pre-dodge, right? So this habit, it exists everywhere. So whenever you see yourself do something, I want you to, instead of look at it past tense, say, okay, what do I do? What do I do that I don't like? Look at your game with that question rather than what did I do that I didn't like, or that I don't like that I did. Right.
So I'm gonna go like this.
So what we've come to is, I don't like that you always pre-dodge instead of playing cover, or a mixture. I would argue that right here, you can just peek this with this point of cover in mind, extend here, and then if you peek two people, you can back up, right? You have many options of stability. If there's people here that you want to take advantage of, then you can also just go deeper. But once you send it here, your only option is pretty much pre-dodge and continue dodging throughout the time that you're here. You don't even really have time to nade if they're trading with you. So pre-dodging, lots and lots of examples. And also, we could probably find a few more things here, but really it's not necessary. You want to just focus on one thing at a time. Go into a spammable environment now and practice, right? Versus collecting a handful of issues. Let's just start with one, right? So we've watched this much of the VOD. Very short review. Now what are we going to do? Create some flags for you to track. So what you're going to do is you're going to notice when you pre-dodge and you don't have to. So the flag will be pre-dodging versus using cover. Right, so we just want to get to the point where we're doing both before we tackle being a perfectionist about using cover, or like trying to excel at this. We need to accept that as we start to change this habit, the way we use cover is going to be very weak because we haven't practiced it in this context. But give it a chance and just make it your goal to become a more dynamic player, and just notice when you could possibly use cover. Right, every time, so like you can play R5, notice when you are unhappy with messing the above up. So this doesn't mean notice it every single time you fuck it up at any degree. It means play naturally, right? Play R5 and just notice. And we're not saying like, don't make it super intentional to use cover. Just make it super intentional to notice afterwards. if you are happy slash, well, I guess if you are unhappy with how you did this. And then once we have more issues, so let's say we have 2 or 3 other things, then we can start talking about how to make a cycle and how to target these things individually, one at a time in a balanced manner or a somewhat foolproof way, which there's a lot of ways, but we can move on to that after we notice more problems. But we already have one problem that's very clear. We can see that you do it, and then we just want to play around with it a little bit, at least, you know, at least we want to see that we do it. It's like, I want to go a little bit deeper into this actually, just for a few clips, maybe just this one clip, but this is a really good clip to show you the downside of pre-dodging versus playing cover well. So the more effectively you can play close to cover, the less distance you ever have to travel when you are folding. And each time you're trading, you will fold potentially if you run out of bullets before the other person, if the trade is bad from the start and you want to leave it and start healing. And so it's just a normal thing that happens over and over. You have to realize how, like, a good flag for this would be taking too much damage on, like, during the fold. So this could be a next step. Too much damage taken during fold. All right, and what this will do is it will make you realize the factors that cause this, which are the distance that you have to travel to close this angle with you and your opponent based off of the points of cover. So it's just a way to emphasize how much you increase your awareness of this. But look at this. So we're folding. We have to go into this straight line. From there, this entire time, we are very vulnerable. All right, we're lucky we didn't get traded during that time. Again, we want to look at the window where the fold begins and where it ends, and look at how much damage we took. So, shooting and folding. It's a very big amount of space to cross during a fold that could preemptively be much smaller, and we're not really losing anything from making it smaller. So let's say we stop right here. What do we have and what do we lose here? That's the question. And for the next spot, what do we have here versus what do we lose here? Our angle of all of this stuff has not really been manipulated. Our angle to this has been manipulated. This benefits us, this doesn't really benefit us. So we're weakening this thing that we don't have much control over and weakening this thing that we have a lot of control over at the same time. So we want to realize that we're being a little bit greedy here. And this causes us to have to fold back in a straight line, which if you really highly value dodge, you will realize that dodging initially is a bad way to dodge. So if we were to really tunnel in on dodging only, and we want to be the best dodgers in the world, you do not want to be playing this far away from cover. It makes your fold completely predictable and gets rid of any dodge potential for your fold. Every time you over peek something, you have to over fold. So we want to see the benefits of over peeking, we want to see the disadvantages of over peeking, and we also want to see that as well with just playing cover normally. Can you